Imagine a year where summer just never shows up. A year of constant darkness, of relentless cold, with snow falling in the middle of June. Now, this isn't science fiction. This is the true story of 1816, a year that plunged the entire world into a bizarre and pretty devastating climate crisis. So let's dig in and figure out what happened, why it happened, and what its strange story can teach us today.
And get this, even one of America's sharpest scientific minds, Thomas Jefferson, was completely stumped. From his home at Monticello, he was keeping all these detailed notes on the bewildering weather. But just like everyone else, he couldn't figure out the real cause. His confusion really captures the shock that was sweeping not just America, but the entire Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah, people came up with some pretty grim nicknames for that year, but I don't think any of them capture the sheer misery quite like 1800 and froze to death. It was also called the poverty year, and that gives you a hint about the widespread suffering that happens when the weather turns on you. So, what was it actually like to live through this so-called year without a summer? Honestly, the reports from back then sound like something out of a disaster movie.
The timeline of this summer is just wild. In May, a brutal frost killed off all the newly planted crops all over New England. Then in June, a foot of snow fell on Albany, New York. A foot! By July, there was still ice on rivers down in Pennsylvania. And even in late August, frost was killing crops as far south as Virginia. Temperatures would just swing like crazy, going from normal summer heat to near freezing in just a matter of hours. It was a total breakdown of the natural order.
So, this level of climate chaos begged a terrifying question. What on earth could possibly be powerful enough to just erase an entire season across the globe? People at the time had absolutely no idea, but the answer was hiding on the other side of the plan.
Well, it took a while, but scientists eventually cracked the case and unmasked the culprit behind this global disaster. The source wasn't man-made, and it wasn't from outer space. No, it came from the Earth itself.
Meet Mount Tambora, a volcano in Indonesia. In April of 1815, that's a full year before the year without a summer, it exploded in what is still the most powerful volcanic eruption in recorded history. The blast was so massive it was heard hundreds of miles away and killed an estimated 71,000 people almost instantly. But believe it or not, its most devastating impact was still to come.
So here's why there was that crucial delay. The eruption happened in 1815, right? But the worst effects weren't felt until 1816. That's because it took months for all the fine volcanic particles to get shot up into the stratosphere and then get carried by high-altitude winds all around the globe, forming this massive, sun-blocking veil.
The volcano basically shot millions of tons of stuff into the air. But the real troublemaker, the key ingredient for all this climate chaos, was sulfur dioxide. This wasn't just your regular smoke or ash that would fall back down pretty quickly. Oh no, this gas went on a chemical journey high above the clouds.
And that leads to this phenomenon we call a volcanic winter. Way up in the stratosphere, that sulfur dioxide combined with water vapor and it formed these tiny little droplets of sulfuric acid. This created a gigantic aerosol cloud that basically acted like a planetary sunshade, reflecting sunlight back into space and dramatically cooling the Earth below.
And the result? A staggering drop in average global temperatures of somewhere between 2 and 7 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I know that might not sound like a huge number, but trust me, as we're about to see, that tiny change was more than enough to throw the entire planet's systems into total disarray.
You know, without our modern understanding of how the atmosphere works, people in 1816 were just grasping at straws, trying to figure this out. The most popular theory was that a bunch of sunspots were blocking the sun's heat. Others blamed melting icebergs. But my personal favorite? The theory that Benjamin Franklin's lightning rod was somehow stopping lightning from heating the Earth. Nobody, and I mean nobody, connected the dots back to a volcano halfway around the world.
And this wasn't just some weird weather, you guys. The cooling effect created this catastrophic domino effect on societies all across the globe.
I mean, the impact was felt everywhere. In Europe, which was already trying to recover from the Napoleonic Wars, crop failures led to massive famines and food riots. In North America, farmers just abandoned their land in New England and started heading west, which actually sped up the whole westward expansion. In India, the eruption messed up the monsoon, which helped a new, deadly strain of cholera to spread. And in China, it caused these absolutely devastating floods. Historian John D. Post really summed it all up with this powerful statement. This wasn't just a tough time, it was a fundamental threat to survival for millions of people. It was the last time the Western world would face a famine on this scale that was caused by natural climate change.
But here's where the story takes a really unexpected turn. Out of all that darkness and despair, something truly incredible emerged. This crisis actually sparked these amazing bursts of creativity and innovation that we still feel today.
So, picture this. It's the summer of 1816. A group of young English writers, including Mary Shelley and Lord Byron, are trying to have a vacation in Switzerland. But they can't go outside because of this wet, ungenial summer of endless rain and dark, gloomy skies. So, to pass the time, they challenged each other to write a ghost story. And it was there that a teenage Mary Shelley had the nightmare that would become Frankenstein. That same summer, Lord Byron wrote this incredibly dark, apocalyptic poem called Darkness, inspired by those gloomy, sunless skies. The whole terrifying, world-ending atmosphere fueled a brand new genre, Gothic horror. It's just wild to think that a volcano in Indonesia created the very weather that helped give birth to Frankenstein's monster.
The crisis also kicked off a bit of a tech revolution. See, the widespread crop failures meant there was a shortage of oats, which made it insanely expensive to feed horses, and horses were the main way people got around. So, in response, a German inventor named Karl Drees created this new kind of horseless transport, a running machine that would become the direct ancestor of the modern bicycle. A classic case of necessity being the mother of invention.
So why are we talking about this story from over 200 years ago? Well, because the year without a summer is more than just a history lesson. It's a pretty stark and powerful warning from the past.
When you put 1816 side by side with what's happening today, the comparison is, well, it's pretty sobering. The climate chaos of 1816 was caused by a natural one-off event. After a few years, the volcanic stuff cleared out of the atmosphere and the climate went back to normal. The climate change we're facing today, though, is caused by human activity, and its effects are not temporary. And that is the crucial difference.
I think the ultimate lesson from 1816 is a simple one, but it's also kind of terrifying. A drop of just a few degrees in the global average temperature was enough to cause crop failures, famine, and social chaos all around the world. It's proof of just how incredibly sensitive our global systems are to even tiny changes in the climate.
And that really leaves us with one final chilling question. The people of 1816 lived through a temporary climate shock with devastating results. Are we now looking at a more permanent version of their future? The Year Without a Summer isn't just a historical curiosity. It's a case study of a planet on the edge.